Hey guys, so I just spent this Christmas doing something that I don't normally do, and that's visit family members. Why? Well, if you knew my family, you'd know why. But some of them aren't bad. My dad, for example, get along with him. His wife, not my real mother, but my stepmother, obviously, get along with her as well. And so I spent the last 2 or 3 days or something down there hanging with them, and I got in a conversation with my stepmother about what I wanted to talk about in this video. If you probably figured out what it is already by the title of it, because you're not stupid, you are smart. And so I thought the topics that her and I discussed would make a good video, so that's why I decided to make a short video on it. If it's short or not will be determined by how many tangents I run off on, so apologies in advance if I do. And so, anyway, she was talking about like going to the family court and stuff like that, and how, her ex, if he tries anything and what there, it should be okay because they have security guards there that deal with this kind of stuff. And as someone that was part of the security industry for a long time, where I did standard security work and other bodyguarding, stuff like that, I'll tell you right now, do not put any fucking faith in the security industry. If you know an individual person that works in the security industry and you know that that person's like got their shit together and they're reliable, a bit of a different story. That person you can rely on, but I'm talking about like the entire industry as a whole. Don't put your faith in them, okay? If you've ever read Gavin De Becker's book, Gift of Fear, if you haven't, highly recommend. Really good read. Like, almost every instructor or people that teach a form of fighting or combat in some form that's read that book, recommend it to everyone. Richard Dimitri, founder of Sanchito, recommends it. John Laval, firearms instructor, he recommends it. Other people whose names aren't coming to mind at the moment also recommend it. And there's a segment in there where even he said don't have faith in the security industry because that's the industry that gave us... forgot the names of the people at the top of my head, but basically some messed up fucking serial killers and psychos and stuff like that. And whilst there are people like this, and that you can find in any industry, including law enforcement and stuff like that, and also military, I have found that this theme seems to be a lot more common in the security industry, because no matter where I worked, I'd say probably a good 80 to 85% of everyone I worked with was a weird guy in a very, very bad negative way, or a shit cunt. And here, let me give you some examples. I was working at one nightclub, and I ended up quitting because the boss that was in charge was selling ecstasy to the people that were going there, and tried to justify it with these usual bullshit and stuff like that that people do. And I said, well, first off, you're breaking the law, you're a fucking criminal, you know you shouldn't be doing this shit, so I don't really want to work under you if this is the kind of shit you're going to be doing. The other guys that work in there, one guy was just a big, fucking... I was going to say what nationality was, but then I don't want anyone accusing me of being racist. But all you need to know is that the particular racist guy is, that most of them are like, pretty big solid guys. And so that's basically what he did, but he was just kind of like this big guy that just stood around and just bullied everyone whenever he wanted to. But he had no communication skills, worked in another industry where there was... a guy that worked in a shopping center, and he caught two girls fingering each other in the fire escape. And here's the thing, okay, fair enough, you open up the doors or whatever it was, and that he found them doing what they were doing, and he said, no, I gulped a couple of times and I was, professional about it, and told them, you need to stop doing this and then leave. But here's the thing, he kept going on about it, because at the time I was, had a different job where I was working with his wife, and then for whatever reason, I think I went to go with her to the shopping center where he was working, and then I got in the car and they gave me a lift home. But anyway, the whole trip back, he was just kind of like, man, I wish I got a photo of that and stuff like that. But here's the thing that makes it creepy. Both those girls were schoolgirls, like 14 or 15 or something. And he's, I think at the time was like 31, 35. So yeah, if you can't figure out why that's creepy, you maybe should just stop watching this video, because the information is not for you. Anyway, I also used to live with a guy who was a security guard. It was just this, a beast fucking wanker who thought he knew more than anyone about, everything. And, he was just a, what's the word, a compulsive liar. He said, oh yeah, like, I've got my own security industry and training business. Turns out he didn't. He was just some, grunt that worked under someone else. He'd share all these stories and stuff that he apparently did on the job about how he, like, pointed shotguns at people when he was working at some work site at night time, and they were peeing on the fence, and just, ridiculous stuff like that. And so the other one is where I actually had to go with a friend to family court because, same story, her psychotic ex, who is a career criminal, a very violent one at that. He's like beat up police officers, stuff like that, you know, shot up houses, you know, there's your fucking gun control working so well in Australia, by the way. And so, you know, I went with her because she felt safe with me, even though there was a assigned security guard there, and in order to get that in place, at least at the time, she had to contact a police officer, then they had to contact people at the family court and get a security guard in place. Like, at least I think that's how it went. So anyway, I go there, this big guy there, you know, shows up, he's like, looks about 45 or something. We go up this elevator to the floor that we had to go to, because it was about 4 or so floors, and anyway, the ex is around there and stuff like that, and all he did was like walk her to an area, and then he walked back behind this main little counter, which is right in front of the elevators as you walk out. And anyway, I'm walking around because I'm the only guy that's being alert. I look at this guy, he's fucking sleeping. Seriously, eyes closed, and I know he's sleeping because he's also snoring. And so yeah, this other guy started some stuff, the other guy meaning the friend of mine's ex. What's this fucking useless security guard going to be doing? Just being the guy that's, you know, sleeping. Another story in that, another guy at a shopping center at the shopping center I used to, in the town that I used to live at. So that's how I know this guy. I never worked with him, but I would always see him, you know, like hitting on chicks. Most of them looked like they weren't exactly legal, and he was always writing his number down and handing it out to people, which, and if you worked with this security industry, that is completely against the rules and it's not allowed. There's another guy that's just a creepy cunt. He was always like just hitting on women, but like not in the usual like way where you'd like kind of do it in a suave Will Smith way. He was kind of doing it in a Christopher Walken really creepy way, where he'd walk over and he'd ask him just, he's opening on be like sexual questions and stuff like that. And so, like I said, this is just like the stuff that I've seen constantly over and over and over again in the security industry. And I have spoken to a lot of police officers and stuff like that too, and there's far less of that stuff that goes on. It might be about, I don't know, if I had to give a rough figure at the top of my head, maybe 20% of people in there I didn't trust, but the other 80% seem to be able to do their job well. Their arresting techniques weren't too great, but that's a story for another day. And, oh fuck, what was that other story? It was with a security guard that worked at a prison. I'm not going to say which one, because other people will say that I'm, like, degrading the name or something like that. But, this guy was the worst at, weapons training, and from what the other guys were saying, he was, you know, an Indian guy there that couldn't figure out the 4 basic firearm safety rules. Now, most of my viewers are American, most of which are pro-gun, so I assume you already know what the 4 firearm safety rules are. If you don't, look them up, it's not that hard to find. And this guy would break all 4 of them at the same time. I couldn't fucking believe it. He would constantly muzzle swipe people with the gun after being yelled at and told not to fucking do it. He kept having his finger on the trigger. The gun was loaded the whole time, by the way. And yeah, so obviously he wasn't treating guns like they were loaded. He wasn't being aware of his target and what was beyond it, because if he were, he wouldn't be fucking pointing a gun at it, you know, aiming the gun at things he, you know, had no intention of destroying. And of course he didn't keep his finger off the trigger until his eyes were on the target. Well, I don't know, technically speaking, the sights were on the target and his finger wasn't the trigger, but it's not what he wanted to shoot, so he's a dumb cunt and shouldn't be doing that. So the point that I'm getting at with all this is that at the end of the day, you really need to have faith in yourself and your own skills, because people that you put faith in to try and look after you and protect you, really, I just don't think are up to it, especially in the security industry. And even when I was doing bodyguarding work, there were other people in there that were just not great at their job. And me, I train my body and mind and stuff like that to stay awake for a long period of time, which sometimes you need to do because you're a VIP. If they're a party animal, which in my case the last one was, they wanted to stay up a lot. And if they stay awake, you have to stay awake. And I was able to do that without the use of drugs, but it was a 4-man team, so 2 of the others used ecstasy in order to stay awake. The other one didn't use anything, but the person was like not alert, like they kept drifting off and stuff like that when they needed to be staying focused and everything, and you could tell the only thing this person wanted to do was go and sleep as opposed to keep their mind alert and stay focused on the job at hand. You know, that thing that you're being hired and paid to do. And yeah, essentially, yeah, like, you know, police officers, they got better training and everything because they need to be. With that being said, some countries train their officers better than others, some states train it better than others, and I can mostly only speak for Australia more so than America because, well, I'm not an American and never worked with police and stuff like that there, so anyway, not touching that one. However, there was some stories and stuff that I heard where there were corrupt police officers, and even a, you know, good, decent, honest police officer would say, no, that guy is not a fucking cop, he's a shit cunt that faked his way in the industry and got the uniform. Because one guy, tried to rape another woman that I think it was meant to protect or something, but that went down fucking hill pretty quickly. The redeeming factor for it, though, is that the woman didn't get raped by him. She had lost nailed something fierce and tore his face to shit. So good, fuck that guy. And this is a guy that had like mace, a gun, and had training and stuff like that. And so she's a prime example of someone that took initiative to, you know, fight back and protect herself, because the person that she had faith in to protect her ended up not doing it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have faith in anyone. I'm just saying the person that you should have the most amount of faith in is you. Because at the end of the day, the most common denominator of your protection is you, and always you. So, thank you for watching, and if it's not apparent by what I just talked about, stay safe.